Takadosh Boker Or. Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Nun Aleph Amud Aleph 51a1. We were just talking about right now about the Bat Kohen. If it says the Bat Kohen gets serefa if she did znut in zinta, right? If she did immorality under her husband. Enli ela shniset. That's only if she's going to be married to a Kohen. What about Nisel Levi Israel Lekuti Lechalal Mamzer Natin Minayin? What happens if she's married to a regular Jew? Meaning, I would have thought to say maybe Bemet a Bat Kohen gets punished like this if she's also married to a Kohen. Yeah? 1 second. But maybe Bemet, whoever said right now that if it's going to be, right, anybody else, right? So the truth is, though, the Gemara is going to ask the question that John Paul just asked now. Look in footnote number 1. He says, 1 second. She's still a Bat Kohen. What do I care who she gets married to? A Bat Kohen's a Bat Kohen. What do I care if she gets married to Shalom, Molo, Ploni, Almoni, and John Doe and John Doe? What do I care? She's a Bat Kohen. So says the Gemara, Tamunumar, Ubat Ish Kohen. Afal Pi Shena Kohenet. Meaning she's a Bat Ish Kohen means that even though she's not a Kohen anymore, but she got married to somebody else, she still has the applications of a Bat Kohen, and therefore she gets Serefa. He bisrefa, ve'en boala bisrefa. This sounds familiar, no? She gets Serefa. But not the lover, not the Boel. The Boel does not get Srefa. He be Srefa, ve'en zomemea be Srefa. She gets Srefa, but not the Edim zomemim. Says the Gemara. Yeah, says the Gemara. Basically, what he's trying to say is that the word he is extra. So when it says he, it's only she, excluding everybody else. So Rabbi Eliezer Omer, etavia bisrefa vetchamia biskila. What does that mean? We're going to explain. What does that mean now that the father is bisrefa and the father-in-law is ila? Right? So Amar Mor. Doctor, do me a favor. Close the door, please. So he says like this. He says the father is going to be bisrefa and the father-in-law is going to be with skila. So now the Gemara is going to explain little by little. Amar Mor says, when it says ubat ish kohen ki techel liznot, yachol afilu chilul Shabbat. Now, if it didn't say liznot, I would have thought to say that if the bat kohen is mechalelet Shabbat, zoto halacha, same halacha, right? Afilu chilul Shabbat. So says the Gemara, chilul Shabbat, but skila. He says, what are you talking about? If she was mechalelet Shabbat, what does she get? Sekila. So she's not going to get srefa. Here it says that she gets srefa. Amar Rava says, Hamani. So who's the Tana of the Bright? Rabbi Shimon. Right? But Rabbi Shimon says srefa is more chamur than sekila. So then it makes sense. I would have thought to say, since the Torah is going to be so machmir in Kohanim, the Rebbe behu mitzvot yitorobes, they have more mitzvot. So tidom be srefa, she should get srefa. Meaning when a bat kohen does Shabbat, mechalel Shabbat, she should get srefa. Because srefa, according to Rabbi Shimon, is more strict than sekila. And since she has more mitzvot, it's more strict for her. So therefore, if she's mechalel, for sure she can get srefa. Kamash Malan comes to teach you not that it's only kitechel is not. It's only on znut that she gets serefa, not on Shabbat, right? Only on immorality, not on Shabbat. So says the Gemara, Maishna mina minei didei. So says the Gemara, what's the difference between the Bat Kohen, right, and the Kohen himself, right? What does that mean? So he says, I would have thought to say ihu, right, which is the Kohen himself, the male. We're not going to be machmir on him if he's to do with Shabbat. Because he's allowed to be mechalel Shabbat for the avodah. Remember, a Kohen, he does the services in the Bet HaMikdash on Shabbat. So therefore, but the girl, given the it's not permitted for her to do any avodah. So Ema, I would have thought to say, right, don't be srefa, that she should get srefa. Kamash Malan comes teach you know that she still gets tequila, and only for znut does she get srefa. So says the Gemara, Yachol afilu pnuya. I would have thought to say that even for a pnuya. What does that mean, even for a pnuya? I would have thought to say even for a non-married girl, she should also get srefa. So says the Gemara, haliz not ktiv. It's called znut. Meaning that when we're talking about znut, right, usually it means to turn from the path. So that's usually that she's rebelling against her husband. If she doesn't have a husband, it's right. It's true that she's doing something promiscuous, she's doing something not right, but she's not rebelling against her husband. When it says listot, when it says liznot, it's against her husband. Okay? Thank you, doctor. Yeah? Okay, so one more time. When it says right? When it says liznot, liznot is mashma dafka that she has a husband and she's rebelling against her husband. But if she's a pnuya, an unmarried girl, she does not get the srifa. It doesn't matter what she is. So says the Gemara, Kedarav aliznokti, but it's written liznot. So it's mashma liznot is even znut, any type of znut. So he says Kedar Lazar, like Rabbi Lazar Damar, but he says panuya bala pnuya shelo leshemishut asa zona. According to Shitat Rabbi Lazar, he says when you have a panui that goes with a pnuya and it's not for yishut, he made her into a zona. Right? What does that mean? You have a single boy and a single girl, and they fool around, right? So they had znut. So according to Shitat Rabbi Lazar, she becomes a zona, and therefore she cannot come and she cannot get married to a Kohen, but she's a zona. So according to this Shita, that's why he's trying to say that maybe Be'emet even for a Pruya, she would get Serefa, right? Because it's Kilu Znut. But obviously this is going like the Shita of Rabbi Lazar, right? We don't pass like the Shita of Rabbi Lazar, right? So he says here, O eno omer aviha ela leotzi mikol adam. He says, so why does it say now et avia hi mechalelet? We're learning Gzera Shava to teach you that a bat kohen is going to be burnt only in zinta with avia. Meaning if she has znut with her father, then she should get serefa. What happens if she has znut with anybody else? So elamayni hu, but rather in zinta meavia, my iria bat kohen afilu bat Yisrael nami, even a bat Yisrael is the same. Tamarav amali Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. He says, Atya hena hena v'atya zima zima. We have a gzera shava between arayot, between a father and a daughter, and a gzera shava between zima zima. So he comes and he says like this. He says, right, what does that mean? There's going to be two different gzera shavas. Right? It says, Ervat isha ubita lo tegale, et bat bena vebat bita lo tikach garo v'dashara hena zimahi. So therefore, the shortish of the milah isha is ishut. Ishut means dafka, that there's a marriage here. So the pasuk is giving a hint that it's dafka bat or a nechda, right? And not bat anusato. So he comes and he says in another place it says, so over there we're talking about Isha, so therefore it's teaching you in Isur bebat beno, bat bito, even from anusato. But it didn't teach you Isur bebito me anusato. So then when it says henna, it's a gzera shava. Okay, so therefore, in order to understand the Irva Bito, we needed an extra Gzera Shavav Zima Zima, which is to do with Serefa by the mother-in-law. But it says if somebody takes a woman and the mother-in-law, so therefore it's Zima, and therefore they get burnt. And it says by a mother and daughter, Shara Henna Zimahi. Again, it's a Zima. So therefore, if you take a girl and her daughter, right, it's like taking the girl and the mother. Just like the girl and the mother, which is your mother-in-law, there's sirefa. So to a girl and the daughter, right? Which is so that's also going to be sirefa, right? And they learn it from zima. So it's a gzera shava. So from here we learn that even if a person lives with the daughter from his anusato, that means he violated a woman and he had a daughter, and now he goes with the daughter. So that's also sirefa. He also gets sirefa in that such a case. The itzrich, and you need both cases. Why? Salka daita chamina. I would have thought to say la puke midrava. This comes to exclude from Rava. Why? Midegale Rachmana, since the Torah is going to be megale the onesh, the bat kohen, right? By a bat kohen shezinta meavia, velo bebat Israel, and not from a bat Israel. Kamashmalan comes to teach you, right? Et avia hi mechalelet. The pasuk is saying that it's talking about a znut of bat kohen from other people, not from the father. So if we're not talking about that the girl went with the father, we're talking about the girl went with somebody else, and therefore that's why she still gets a srefa. So bat kohen eni ela shenisel kohen, but bat kohen mashma that she's married to a kohen. What about nisel levi Israel or to a goy, to a halal natid mamzer raiminayin? How do we know? Talmud Omar bat ish kohen av bishen a kohenet. Bat ish kohen, even though that she's not a kohenet now. So that means she's not married to a kohen; she's married to anybody, and she still gets killed. Mishum de inseva lehu, right? Lehane lav bat kohen. So ask the Gemara, and this is what the doctor asked immediately. He says, 1 second. Because she got married to somebody else, she's not a bat kohen? You have a bat kohen. She got married to Israel. She's not a bat kohen anymore? She's a bat kohen. Now she's married to a Levi, to a Israel. Whatever you want. But she's not a bat kohen? So answer the two, and furthermore, midi kohenet le kohen ktiv. It doesn't say a kohenet to a kohen. It just says bat kohen ki techel is not. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say Kitechel is not a Rachmana. Hanamile de kamatchla hashta. When she's starting now to be mitchalelet from the keuna, only now through znut. Avalha, but in this case, Since she was mechulelet from the time that she got married and not mishizinta, so therefore we're not going to be osek, right? That's the pasuk is not talking about that, right? So therefore the question is, how do we know then that she becomes mechulelet from the kiuna from the time that she gets married? So imagine a Yisrael gets married to her. How do we know that she's not a Kohenet anymore? So he says, "Damar mor ubat Kohen kitiel zar." When a bat Kohen goes to an Ish Zar, she doesn't eat truma. Kevan shenivala, once she has relations with the stranger, with the Ish Zar, le pasula. She becomes pasul, psala. Right? That means basically to an Ish Zar, so therefore she becomes psula. Le Levi Yisrael nami. The same halacha would apply to Levi Yisrael. Right? But it says, Ubat Kohen kitiyam meglusha ve'ezera lam v'shavar bet avia minura mikral d'chiyati gabe lo achla. So it's mashma that the entire time that she's married to somebody else, she doesn't eat truma. So Eima loti dom b'srefa. So I would have thought to say that she doesn't get srefa as well. Kamashmalan that she does get srefa, meaning like this: when you have a bat kohen and she gets married, she got married to a Levi, she got married to a Yisrael. Does she eat truma? No. Why? The second that she got married out, Kilu is married out, right? But meaning she got married to a non-kohen. So that's it. She loses the status quo. If she gets widowed or divorced without children, then she goes back to the father's house, and then she's allowed to eat mashma. The entire time that beforehand, she's not allowed to eat. So you see from here, so you would have thought to say, listen, she's a bat kohen, but the second that she got married to the zar, she kilu loses the rights of the kiuna. So since she loses the rights of the kiuna, she's not the regular bat kohen that she should get punished with srefa. Kamashmalan that she does get punished with srefa because it avia he mechalelet. Udelo Rabbi Meir and not like Rabbi Meir. The Tanya was learned in the Bright and Trumot. Bat kohen sheniset disel v'achla truma meshalemet et hakerem v'meshalemet et chomesh. If she comes and she gets married to a regular Yisrael, and she's about to go in and she's got married to a regular Yisrael and she ate Truma, she only has to pay the principal, but she doesn't have to pay the extra, the 20%, the Chomesh, and she gets killed with Srefa, right? What does that mean? If she comes and she's Mizana, she gets killed with Srefa. So it comes out that she still has a Kedusha of Kiuna. Because according to Shitat Rabbi Meir, right, she doesn't pay the Chomesh, she only pays just the principal. But she got married to somebody that's pasul, for example, mamzer, natin. So then, here, yes, she has to pay the keren and the chomesh. And the mitata bechenek, right? Like any other eshetish bat Yisrael. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. But the chachamim come and say, no. Mishalmot keren lo chomesh. She always pays keren, not chomesh. And she always gets killed with srefa. Okay, so it comes out that obviously we're not going like Rabbi Meir. We go like the rabbis, that she always gets srefa, bat kohen always gets srefa, right? Not if she's completely married, right? I mean, sorry, only if she's completely married, not tarusa. You remember that was the machloket Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan that we learned. But she does get srefa, she doesn't get chenek. Doesn't matter if she got married to a Yisrael, Natin, Mamzer, doesn't matter who. Okay? Okay, next. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, Et avia bisrefa vet chamia biskila. What are we talking about? What does it mean now, et avia vet chamia? Ilema, if you're going to tell me et avia me avia, means that she had relations with her father, and when it says chamia from her father-in-law, meaning she had relations with her father-in-law, ma'ia bat kohen, what do I care about bat kohen? Even a bat Yisrael is the same thing. Bito bisrefa. Kalato is sekila. Meaning if a person lives with his daughter, they get srefa. Because that's what we just brought from the pasuk. But if a person lives with a daughter-in-law, he gets sekila. Yes. Okay. So says the Gemara, Ela but rather et avia birshut avia, vet chamia birshut chamia. Meaning depends which reshut she's in. In whose possession is she in? Meaning, as long as she's an arusa, she's always birshut avia. Once she goes into the father-in-law's house, she's birshut chamia. So that's what it says. Birshut chamia keman, when she's already married. So ikra banan, if you're going to tell me right now that we're talking about shitat chachamim, that remember that sekila is more stricter than tzerefa, ha'amre, I thought we said nisua yatza lisrefa velo arusa, that it's only a nisua gets srefa, but not a arusa, right? And if you're going to tell me now it's shitat Rabbi Shimon, that srefa is worse than sekila, ha'amar achat arusa v'achad nisua b'srefa, I thought he said always bat kohen is srefa. V'ikra b'ishmael, now if you're going to tell me it's a b'ishmael, ha'amar he said arusa yatzat lisrefa velo nisua. So Tchamia is going to be b'chenek then. So what's going on? So therefore, it cannot be like nobody, right? So therefore, right? What is the shita now of Rabbi Eliezer? It's not Rabbanan, it's not Rabbi Shimon, and it's not Rabbi Shmuel. So what's going on? Says the Gemara, Shalach Ravin, Mishmed Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina. So sent Ravin in the name of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina. Kachi Yatzaa Shel Mishnah. This is the nusach of the Mishnah of Rabbi Eliezer that we brought down. Leolam Rabbanan. Really, it's like Rabbanan. This is what it means to say. Kol shehu lemata mimitat avia, anything which is going to be less than the mita of avia, which means srefa. Umayniu, what is that? Nesua bat Yisrael, a regular married woman. Tinu nesua bat Yisrael, she gets chenek. So to here, hacha, in the case of bat kohen, the mitat avia bisrefa. When it's going to be in the father's possession, it's going to be bisrefa. But kol she lemala mimitat avia. But anything which is above mitat avia, umayniu, what is that? Arusa bat Yisrael. An arusa, that she gets sekila. Ti'ilu arusa bat Yisrael ba'alma biskila. So to hear hachal, so to hear also, but to do the bat kohen, b'mitat chamia, she gets the mitah of the chamia, which is going to be sekila. That's why the rabbis learned, by the way, that an arusa bat Yisrael also gets sekila. Okay? Are you with me or not? So matkifla Rabbi Yirmiyah comes and he asks, midi lemala lemata ktani? Yes, I don't understand you. Did you see anything which is above and below? What was the limud? The limud, we just gave like a hint to understand it. But what was the limud? The limud is that if you're going to go lemala or lemata, meaning are you going upwards, meaning like a more stringent punishment, or a more lenient punishment? So therefore, the question though that he asks is, where do we see that anywhere? That's not written anywhere. So for why are you telling me no, but by a regular Bat Yisrael, she gets sekila, which means that's above aviha. Why is it above aviha? Because if she goes with the father, it's sirifa. So therefore, if that's above aviha, so therefore here too, right? You're going to say it goes like that punishment, which is going to be sekila. But if it's lemata me aviha, no. So whoever told you lemala, lemata, lemala, lemata? Who's talking about lemala, lemata? Yeah, up, down, right, left, and all around. Who's talking about up and down? Yeah, exactly. So he says, Ela amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, or rather Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Nun Aleph Amud Bet, 51b. Yeah? Leolam Rabbi Ishmael. Really, Be'emet, it's going to be like the Shita of Rabbi Ishmael. V'hachi kamar, this is what it means to say. Et avia b'shut avia b'srefa. Et chamia mechamia b'skila. V'chol adam b'chenek. He says, no. It comes out that according to Shitat Rabbi Ishmael, the way you have to do it is like this. When she's in the father's house, it's srefa. When it says chamia, it doesn't mean that she's in the property of chamia. Because remember, according to Rabbi Shimon, what happens if she's already 100% married? She still gets srefa. So what are we talking about? Et chamia from chamia. We're talking about mamash that she had relations with her father-in-law. And therefore it's sekila. But if anybody else, it's going to be chenek. Anybody else is always going to be chenek. So Amar Rava says, Maishna, what's the difference between oedi, the idi mamash, or idi v'idi reshut? What does that mean? Yeah? So again, one more time, according to Shitat Rabbi Ishmael, et avia means in the reshut avia, she gets serefa. Because according to him, you always get serefa. So when it says chamia, it doesn't mean reshut chamia, but even reshut chamia, she still gets serefa. Remember, according to Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon. Yeah? He says, right? It's going like Rabbi Ishmael. According to Rabbi Ishmael, it means that mamash is having relations from the chamia. And therefore it's besikila. And with everybody else, it's chenek. So Amar Rava, yeah. So Amar Rava says, Maishna o idi vidi mamash, o idi vidi reshut. He says, I don't understand. Why is it that one reshut means that mamash reshut, and the other one means mamash from the father-in-law? When it said etavia, it means in the property of the father. And when it says chamia, it didn't mean the property of the father-in-law. It meant from the father-in-law. Well, you're like, what? You have to decide. It has to be the same. Ela Marava, rather Rava says, Leolam like Rabbi Shimon. V'kasava Rabbi Eliezer nesua karusa. So he holds nesua like an arusa. Just like an arusa chadarga maskinala, just like the arusa. One of the ma'alot, we're going to bring it up, right? More than the bat kohen. Miskila l'srefa, from sekila to srefa, so to a nesua, chad darga maskinla, from chenek to sekila. You understand what just happened? something incredible. Listen to this. Yeah, listen to the how how he's doing it. According to Rabbi Shimon, what's more chamur, sikila or serefa? Serefa, right? Rabbi Shimon, remember Rabbi Shimon, serefa. According to Rabbi Shimon, what's more chamur, hereg or cherek? Remember, it's always the opposite of the Rabbanan. So if we do sekila, serefa, hereg, v'chenek, so according to Rabbi Shimon, sekila, serefa flip, and hereg, v'chenek flip. So if he comes and he says like this, just like when you have a regular bat Yisrael that's zinta. Regular bat Yisrael, she commits adultery. When she's regular bat Yisrael, fully married, what does she get? Chenek. If she's engaged, what does she get? Sekila. So how many levels did it go up according to Rabbi Shimon? It only went up one level. One level. Because according to him, it's supposed to be serefa, sekila, chenek, hereg. So you went up one level. Everyone's with me or not? It only went up one level. So he comes and he says, according to this, right? Nisua karusa, meaning the ownership of a bat kohen for a bat Yisrael, also only went up one level. Because when she was on a rusa, what does she get? Sekila. According to Rabbi Shimon, you go up one level, serefa. Capish? Meaning you're always just going up one level, according to him. So matkif la Rabbi Chanina, ha'idi vidi Rabbi Shimon b'srefa kaman. Says 1 second. But I thought you told me that according to Rabbi Shimon, a married woman also only gets srefa. Meaning according to Rabbi Shimon, you always get srefa for a bat kohen. So Elama Ravina, but rather Ravina comes and he says, you're right. Kerabanan, you're right. But it cannot be Rabbi Shimon. Because Rabbi Shimon wanted to say that Niswa is like an Arusa, but 1 second, but Anurusa is going up one level, but what about the Niswa? And he says that everything is the same. It's always going to be Serefa. So Ravina says, no, you have to say it's Rabbanan. The Epuch, and therefore we have to switch the Nusach. Etavia beskila, vetchamia bisrefa. What does that mean? Beforehand, we said etavia bisrefa, vetchamia biskila. So we thought when it said etavia bisrefa, it means that she lived with her actual father. And that's why it's serefa. And when it says the chamia, she lived with the actual chamia, and therefore it's sekila. Now we're switching it. Etavia biskila, vetavia bisrefa. And therefore, when it says v'haide kamer, now why does it say now etavia? Why didn't it just say arusa v'nesua? Silcha be'alma nakat. That's just like the normal way, meaning that we already know that whenever it says etavia, it means she's in the possession of the father. When it says chamia, she's in the possession of the chamiha. What is halacha? Amar Rav Nachman Amar Ravu Amar Rav. Halacha kedeshalach Ravim Mishmed Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. The halacha is like, right, what Ravin sent in the name of Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina. He says over here that Rabbi Eliezer holds like chachamim, but rather you have to switch the girsa, right? And therefore, right, like what we mentioned above, it's basically we pass like Rabbanan, right, which is very simple. Okay, capish? Fine. Says the Gemara, Amar of Yosef, says of Yosef, Hilcheta lemeshicha. What does that mean? We need this only for Yemot HaMashiach? What do I have to know? What's the halacha? Do you have a bat kohen shezinta that you're going to kill her with srefa? Or you're going to kill her with sekila that you need to know what the halacha is? What is the halacha for? Listen, teach me Hilchot Birkat Hamazon, but Hilchot Mitat Betin? Say, we don't have Mitat Betin anymore. Right? From the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, and even from before. Right? From the 40 years before, if you remember, already, when they went out of the Lishkat HaGazit, there's no more Mitot. So what? Hilchot HaMashiach? This is what we need the halacha for Mashiach when it comes. What's going on? Yeah. Yeah, but right now, nowadays, though, we don't do it. So therefore, what do I need to know? What's a hilchata? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, okay, fine. So Elmaleh Abai says, "Lemata shchitat kochim lo litni hilchata lemishicha." Right? He says, 1 second. So from then on, never learn zvachim anymore. Why? Take zvachim and take it out. We don't have zvachim anymore in the shas. We're going to remove it. Why? Hilchata lemishicha. Elama drosh vekabel schar. Learn it. And be mekabel schar for the learning. Oto davar. Hachana midrosh vekabel schar. be doresh and learn. Meaning, even if it's not going to be halacha l'maaseh anymore, because I can't do anything. Same thing. What? You don't learn kodshim anymore? You're not going to learn korbanot? Of course you're going to learn it, and you're rewarded. You receive reward. Oto davar. So he comes now and he says like this. He says, "Hachi kama." This is what it means to say. Hilchata lamali. Why do we need the hilchata? Sugya deshmat halacha kama. He says what? To do with halacha is talking about a sugya. Meaning the difference between the two pirushim is not nogeat halacha anyway. Because they're only just explaining what are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. So what does it mean now? What do we have to know now? Like we have to know what's shitat Rabbi Eliezer. We have to know halacha l'maaseh, not shitat Rabbi Eliezer. So says the Gemara, my Rabbi Ishmael, what is Rabbi Ishmael? We never saw Rabbi Ishmael yet. Like we did see it in a hint, like beforehand. But where is Rabbi Ishmael? We didn't see Rabbi Ishmael. We saw Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. So he says the Tanya was we learned in the Braita. Ubat yishkohen kitechel is not benara v'yi arusa k'tum in the bed. We're talking about nara meurasa. Ataume benara v'yi arusa o eno ela nisua. We're talking about that she's a married woman. Tamunomar isha sherinafet eshet reu moti mata noeva noafet. Hakol hayu bichlal noefa noafet. Everybody is doing moralities. So therefore, they're going to be noef and noafet. Otzia katu bat Yisrael b'skila. So it's coming to take a bat Yisrael out for skila and a bat kohen b'srefa. Now we don't know what bat kohen is. So just like when it took out the bat Yisrael, it only took her out for skila when she's a rusa and not nesua. So too, it took out the bat kohen only when she was an arusa and not a nesua. This is a new shita now. Doctor, you with me? Everybody with me, listen carefully. New shita, beautiful shita. Listen to this. New shita. He comes and he says like this. It says noef and noafet. Noef and noafet means two people that are committing adultery. Adulterers. Okay, you have the man, noef, and the noafet, and the woman. The Torah says that usually when people commit adultery, what do they get? Chenek. The Torah took this girl out, the bat Yisrael out, and the Torah took the bat Kohen out. Now, I don't know which bat Kohen it took out. It took out a bat Kohen, right? It doesn't say which bat Kohen. So he says, if right now it took the bat Yisrael out, and what was the bat Yisrael that it took out? A nara meorasa. The nara meorasa gets sekila, not chenek. So to a bat Kohen is also nara meorasa. That a bat Kohen nara meorasa, she gets serefa and not chenek. Mashma, bat Kohen nesua, chenek. So this, beforehand, we learned lechule alma, right? That's what he said, lechule alma. Whether according to Rabbi Shimon, whether according to the rabbis, bat Kohen nesua, serefa. Now we're saying, no. Bat Kohen nesua, chenek. Rabbi Ishmael. Chenek. So when is it that the bat Kohen gets serefa? Nara meorasa. Because that's like a regular eshetish. A regular eshetish. Noef and noafet. He says everybody was noef and noafet. Everybody gets chenek. The Torah took out the bat Yisrael by nara meorasa. And the Torah took out the bat Kohen, right? By which one? So he said, just like the bat Yisrael, the Torah took out from the noef and noafet, nara meorasa, and it gave it a stricter punishment. Instead of chenek to sekila, so too when the Torah takes out bat Kohen from noef and noafet, it's going to give it a stricter punishment. Serefa when? By nara meorasa. Only if she's going to be nara meorasa. Says the Gemara. Huh? Zomemea. What does it mean now, zomemea? Yeah, zomemea u boala. So he says, Bichlal vasitem lo kasher zaman. He says, do you know that the zomemim of the bat Kohen is also part of vasitem lo kasher zaman? So he says, boala, my kasher zamimika. What's the kasher zaman? Ela zomemea bichlal mitat boala. Zomemea get the same mitat as boala. Mishum shenamar b'zeh vasitem lo kasher zaman. La'asod la'achiv v'lo la'achoto. It's him and not to the sister. Yeah, Divrei Rabbi Ishmael. Who brings this down, by the way? Vasitem lo kasher zamam lo, right? Vasitem lo kasher zamam lo la'asod la'achiv v'lo la'achoto. Rashi on Bet Amud Aleph. Yeah? These are the words of Rabbi Ishmael. Rabbi Akiva Omer, achat arusa v'achat nesua. Whether a bat Kohen arusa or nesua, that's a tzrefa, gets tzrefa. Yachol afilu pnuya. I would have thought even of pnuya. Ne'emar kan avia v'ne'emar it says avia. Just like over there, znut zikat bal, so too they're talking about znut with zikat bal. Amalo Rabbi Shmuel, it says Rabbi Shmuel, ima lehala nara v'yirusa, just like as be nara munusa, so too here, as be nara munusa. Amalo Rabbi Kiva, Yishmael achi, bat ubat ani doresh. He says, I'm making the drasha of bat kohen without the ubat kohen. So Amalo, he says, because you're going to be doresh bat ubat, notzi zuli srefa, I'm going to give her srefa. Why? So he says, im mashma lavi, right, at the nesua, heviet punuya. If I'm going to come and punish the nesua, I'm going to bring the punuya as well. If mashma lotzi punuya, otzi the nesua, what's going on? So he says, Rabbi Akiva, and according to Rabbi Akiva, ahani gizra shava lamiute punuya. The gizra shava is coming to exclude a punuya that does not get srefa. The ahani bat, and the word bat, ubat, is coming to include a nesua. I mean, according to him, the nesua will also get the srefa. Rabbi Shmuel, and according to Rabbi Shmuel, Savar, he holds, since it says bat ubat ishkwen, shmamina hadar b'migzera shava, it retracted from the gzera shava. So says the Gemara, so then what does Rabbi Shmuel do with bat ubat then? What does he do with the ubat ishkwen, bat? What does that mean? So he says, Mibayle, right, Kedetani Avoa the Shmuel Baravin, Lefish Matzinu Shechalaka Katub Zachrim and Tmimim Lebaale Mumin. Do you know that the Torah differentiated between Kohanim that are full without a blemish and the ones that have a blemish? Yachol nachlok bibnoten. So I would also say there's a difference. If you have a Kohen that's a Balmum and he has a daughter, so maybe Bemet she shouldn't get Serefa, she should only get Chenek. Tamolomar batu bat. So that means the word batu bat teaches you that all the daughters are the same, meaning even though the father cannot do the service in the Bet HaMikdash because he's a Balmum, but the daughter is a bit yukotodor. The daughter is Lamishos. So at the end of the day, she's a Bat Kohen. Rabbi Akiva, and according to Rabbi Akiva, how do you know the Salacha? He says, Mehem makrivim vayu kodesh. He learns it from Hem makrivim vayu kodesh. And Rabbi Yishmael, what does he do with this pasuk? He says, Imeahi, if it was that pasuk, I would have had a havamina hanemile inuhu. That's only for them. Hem makrivim vayu. They bring their kodesh, but benot tehem, they're not. So Kamash Malam, when it says ubat kohen, it's teaching you that even benot baale mumim also get serefa.